I don't even know why I'm telling you this. Maybe if I say it out loud, if I share it, it won't feel like it's still inside my head. But if you're listening, don't go looking for this place. Don't even try. It was supposed to be a simple weekend trip. Me, my cousin Mark, and his girlfriend Sarah. 3 days, 2 nights, nothing hardcore. Just a forgotten trail through an old state forest. The thing is, this trail doesn't show up on modern maps. Not anymore. Mark found it on some backwoods forum, buried in threads about abandoned ranger stations and fire watch towers. Supposedly, this one had been shut down decades ago. At first, it felt normal. The air was clean, the ground soft with leaves, but after about 5 miles, I realized something was off. There were no birds, no insects, no wind. Just the sound of our boots grinding leaves into the dirt. And the silence, it pressed against our ears. That's when we saw it. The cabin. It wasn't on the map. It wasn't on the trail. It was just there. Like it had grown out of the hillside while we weren't looking. The wood was warped and blackened. The chimney leaned like a broken tooth. No path led to it. No sign of people ever coming or going. Just moss, rot, and stillness. Mark, of course, wanted to check it out. We argued longer than we should have. But the sun was dying behind the trees, and we hadn't seen another soul all day. The nearest campsite was miles back. So, we went in. The air inside was wrong. Not just old dust stale. Number. It was colder than outside, and it carried this weight like someone had been breathing in that room for years and only just stopped. We found evidence of people long ago. Family photos nailed crooked to the walls, a collapsed cot in the corner, a bookshelf spilled across the floor. But then, everywhere. Not just on the walls, on the floor, on the ceiling, even on the inside of the windows where no sunlight reached. Spirals, tally marks, symbols that didn't make sense, wriggling in your eyes if you stared too long. Cut deep, aggressive. Mark laughed it off, called it cult crap. Sarah begged us to leave. And me? I just stood there. Because part of me knew this cabin wasn't abandoned. Not really. But night came too fast. We stayed. We laid out our sleeping bags by the door, lit a fire in the cracked hearth, and pretended the walls weren't staring back at us. I woke at 2 a.m. The fire was out. The door was wide open, and Sarah was gone. I shouted her name. Mark bolted upright, lacing his boots before I could even think. We crashed into the woods, flashlights tearing through the mist. But the forest didn't look like the forest anymore. The trees were taller, twisted, too close together. The ground was spongy, almost breathing under our feet. And then her scream. It ripped through the dark, all around us. But it wasn't right. It didn't come from her throat. It came from everywhere, and it went on too long for a human voice. We found her backpack, half buried in wet leaves. Torn open, phone still inside. The screen cracked, still recording. Later, we played it back. Heavy breathing. Footsteps. Then Sarah's voice whispering, frantic. It's not her. It's not me. Don't look. Don't look. Don't. The recording ended with a crunching sound. Wet. Bone deep. Final. We staggered back to the cabin, too shaken to speak. But once inside, we saw the carvings again. Only this time, they were different. Deeper. Darker. Dripping wet. And now, in the dust, fresh footprints. Not boots, not bare feet. Something split-toed, elongated, like a deer, but walking upright. We didn't sleep. How could we after the knock? 3 taps on the cabin wall. Slow, deliberate, right beneath the window. Then a voice. Not Sarah's spy, but it used her words. "Let me in. I'm cold." Mark opened the door. I swear, I didn't think he would. Not after what we'd heard. But when someone you love is missing, logic doesn't matter. You'll believe anything. He looked at me once before unlatching it. Half panic, half guilt, and then fog. The forest vanished into a rolling, colorless fog that spilled inside like it had been waiting. The voice again, right outside. "Mark, it's me." He stepped into the fog. I tried to stop him. I swear I did. But the air pressed down on my chest, made my lungs paper thin. The carvings pulsed faintly on the walls, like they were breathing, whispering, waiting. Mark called her name. And something answered. Sarah, or what wore her face, slid out from behind a tree. It looked perfect. Too perfect. Same jacket, same hair, same voice. But its legs bent backwards. Not broken, not twisted, just wrong. And the smile, too wide, too human to be human. Mark staggered back. "What happened to you?" It didn't answer. It just crouched, unnatural, puppet-like, and let out this wet, clicking cough. Then its eyes, her eyes, locked onto me. Unblinking, unmoving, and it whispered, "One of you let me in." Behind me, the cabin walls scratched. Then the opposite wall. Then the roof. I slammed the door, but it didn't matter. Mark was already inside, standing in the center of the room, staring like he'd forgotten moving. His hands shook, his eyes glazed. Then, a twitch under his skin. A ripple. Another. And then Sarah's smile on his face. "I told you," he said. "One of you let me in." I ran. Dragged down the attic ladder. Scrambled up. Pulled it shut. The air above was suffocating dust, mold, and something else. Something breathing with me. Below, his footsteps. Slow, dragging. Then, silence. But not real silence. He was there, breathing under the hatch. Then, scratching, light, fingernails brushing wood. "You already let me in." I stayed still, shut off the light, pressed into the wall, and waited. Eventually, the scratching stopped. I don't know how long it's been. The phone's dead. The flashlight only works if I shake it. No signal, no birds, no dawn. Sometimes, at night, I hear Sarah crying. Sometimes, Mark calling my name. But it's never them. And last night, a second voice joined me. From the corner I haven't checked. It whispered that it's always been in the walls. That it's hungry. I don't think Sarah and Mark ever left the cabin. I don't think the cabin was ever empty. I think the cabin is them. And now, it's waiting. For me, for you, for someone to open the door again. I don't even know why I'm recording this. Maybe it's just so I don't lose my mind. Maybe it's because some part of me thinks if something happens to us tonight, at least somebody will hear our story. I've been camping for the past week with a few of my friends. It was supposed to be relaxing, a perfect little getaway in the mountains. The campground is about 15 minutes outside of Pittsfield, Massachusetts, right in the heart of the Berkshires. If you've ever been there, you know it's beautiful. Thick forests, quiet trails, mirror-like lakes that catch the moonlight. Families come here all the time. I grew up coming here with my parents, starting when I was just 8 years old. And nothing bad ever happened here. Nothing until now. I'm Hannah. I'm 19. My friends and I decided to come back here since we're all home from college for the summer. There are 6 of us. Me, Tyler, Jacob, Eileen, Ben, and Yona. For the first couple of days, everything was perfect. Swimming in the lake, hiking the trails, sitting around the fire until midnight. Normal camping trip stuff. But today, everything changed. We decided to leave the marked trails and do some exploring. Nothing too dangerous. We had maps, water, supplies, and even Tyler's expensive GPS tracker. The campground is fenced off from the national park, so getting lost wasn't really possible, or so we thought. Ben stayed behind with a stomachache, so it was just 5 of us heading deeper into the trees. For the first 2 hours, we didn't find anything out of the ordinary. A few animal dens, some cool rock formations, even a small cave. But then Eileen froze. She swore she heard her name being called from the woods. We laughed it off. Echoes, tricks of the wind, whatever. But the unease stuck with us. A little later, Tyler came sprinting back to the group. He said he'd seen someone running between the trees. Again, we thought he was screwing with us. We teased him, made jokes about cryptids, even threw sticks at him. He laughed along, but he didn't look like he was joking. And then came the sound that silenced us all. Distant bells, just faint chimes, somewhere out in the forest. We told ourselves it was probably a dog collar, but none of us really believed that. Around 3 in the afternoon, we stumbled across something strange. Small stick structures, circles made of twigs, some on the ground, some hanging from the trees. We saw little nests of branches around tree bases. Eileen begged us to turn back. But then Jacob noticed something else. Old stone steps carved into a hillside, half hidden under moss. Wooden railings, rotting but still standing. It looked like the remains of an old hiking trail. We pressed on, and that's when we found it. A shed, not a collapsed ruin, but a standing, locked building in the middle of nowhere. About 10 feet by 15 feet. No trails leading to it. No roads. Just there. We circled it, testing the nailed-shut windows until Yona pried one open. Tyler climbed inside and forced the door open. The smell hit us immediately. Rot, rust, damp leaves, and something sour that made my stomach turn. Inside, it looked like someone, or something, had been living there. A broken chair, piles of filthy blankets, scattered bones, we prayed, were animal remains. Footprints and handprints smeared across the dirt-caked floor. Half-burned candles, used matches. Tyler whispered that it wasn't human, that something else had made this its nest. We laughed and shoved him, trying to keep the mood light. But in truth, none of us were laughing anymore. And then, I found it. A notebook. A small, battered composition book buried under the blankets, its pages filled with frantic handwriting. We didn't read it there. We shoved it in my bag and practically ran the 3 hours back to camp. By the time we returned, it was evening. Ben had brought back food from town. We sat around the fire, trying to shake off what we'd seen. But when the flames burned low and the woods grew darker, we couldn't resist. We opened the notebook. It belonged to a girl named Cassie, 14 years old. Her entries started normal enough. She was camping with her mom, dad, little brother Levi, and baby sister Daisy. But then, things turned terrifying. She wrote about finding the same stick spirals we had seen, about strange footprints, about footsteps circling their tents at night, about bells ringing in the darkness. Her brother developed a rash after touching one of the spirals. Their father went missing when he walked to the campground office. Then their mother and sister vanished too. Cassie and Levi were alone. She described fog rolling in, swallowing the woods, phones freezing, clocks stuck at 2:17, footsteps circling their car, but no one there when she looked. Whale song-like noises echoing through the trees, the smell of rust and ozone. And then, Levi disappeared. One moment he was walking beside her. The next, his footprints simply stopped. Her final pages are nearly unreadable. She wrote about the shed, about hiding inside it, locking the door, hearing bells outside, about something pressing its fingers under the door. Her last words were her full name, her family's names, the date, a desperate plea for someone to find them. The notebook ends there. We are leaving at sunrise. None of us can sleep. Every time the fire crackles, every time the wind moves through the branches, we freeze. And the worst part? Just now, a few minutes ago, we heard it again. The sound of faint bells. Somewhere out there, in the trees. And that's where the story ends. Or at least, that's all we know. If you heard the bells while listening, maybe you should check your windows. If you enjoyed this nightmare, make sure to like the video, subscribe for more true horror stories, and let me know in the comments. Would you have stayed in that shed or run into the woods? Until next time, stay safe, stay in the light.